During the Dibrugarh visit, we took time to meet some of our ex-colleagues still working there. While meeting them at their office, I went to the northern side of the building to have a look at the site that I loved so much. It was that of the mighty snow-capped Himalayan mountain ranges with the majestically flowing Brahmaputra river in the foreground.
दुनिया बहुत देखी है लेकिन इस तरह का सीन है ना कहाँ भी नहीं है। एक हमारा कनेक्शन यहाँ 10 साल रहने का कारण ये ब्रह्मपुत्र नदी है।
Those were some of the very few things that held me captive during my tenure there. It made me stay put to the place whenever the thoughts came a couple of times to quit the assignment, well before I firmed up my intelligence to quit it in 2001 by consigning all the earthly emotions to the background. Dibrugarh is the gateway to the three tea producing districts of Tinsukia, Dibrugarh and Sivasagar that accounted for nearly 50% of India's Assam tea crop, earning it the title Tea City of India. But the greatest attraction in the town is undoubtedly the mighty Brahmaputra, which acquires mighty proportion with the joining of Siang, Dibang and Lohit rivers from Arunachal Pradesh and forming a 40 square kilometers of water body. A man-made dike constructed parallel to the river barely protect the town from the flood waters of the river. The Brahmaputra, also called Sangpo Brahmaputra, is a transboundary river and one of the major rivers of Asia. While most of the Indian rivers have female names, this river has a rare male name as it means son of Brahma. In India, there is none to match the might of this river. The river during its journey towards Bay of Bengal, when reaches Dibrugarh, becomes the widest, giving it the appearance of an ocean as it is not possible to see its other bank. For me, watching Brahmaputra was always an exhilarating experience, as the time permits, either sitting on the veranda of the building which was used for accommodation or standing on the dike. It has been one of my pastimes to watch all that drama that get unfolded by the river round the year. Come May, for Brahmaputra it is time to unleash all the might it has conserved so far, gushing forth with all fury as if intoxicated by receiving the huge amount of water from its three tributaries. It causes pain and sufferings to all living beings on its basin. But as if to compensate for that, it also keeps on depositing the silt that is rich in mineral and micronutrients, thereby helping people to reap a rich harvest of grain and vegetable without much of an effort for the next few months. Thus, both during the floods and after it, there is not much that can be done for the people or need to be done by the people of Assam. The cycle continuing for hundreds of years now is perhaps the reason for people of Assam being so contented in nature. During the flood times, river and its basins turn into vast expanse of water with a slight color of green. But with the arrival of winter by October, when the water flow trickles down, it turns its color into blue, converts the river beds and banks, giving the appearance of a desert, invite children to play on. Then is the time for so many of the cultural rituals unique to Assam to take place on its banks. Thus, round the year, never is a dull moment for the river or its admirers. For me, the innumerable boat journeys across Brahmaputra, whether from Saikowag to Sadia, Dola to Teju, Sonari to Silapathar, were all memorable. But there is nothing to beat the boat journey across the river to Ayan. The place, which is just 17 to 18 kilometers away from Dibrugarh, can be accessed only by crossing the river and may take anything between 8 to 24 hours depending on the season you are traveling. Nevertheless, it is some of the most enjoyable journeys that I have undertaken while in the Northeast. Starting around 7:30 in the morning from Maijan Ghat in Dibrugarh, it would appear as a journey into eternity as the boat travels upstream, trying to overcome the strong undercurrents at a speed that could put the modern slow motion videos films to shame. As it progresses towards the Urian Ghat lying across Dibrugarh in a parallel way to reduce the impact of the strong undercurrents, the panoramic views of the beautiful Assam villages and the river's ecosystem on either side unfolds in front of you. But most of the passengers, being habituated to it, prefer to enjoy their favorite pastime of dozing off on each other's shoulders by crossing the hands to provide an extra degree of warmth. The chugging of the boat's engine and the cold wind blowing from all around quicken their efforts. But the boat's crew, as if they were averse to people dozing off, like the conventional social reformers trying to wake up the sleeping countrymen, converts the engine room into a kitchen and start preparing tea. Soon one of them, doubling up as a waiter, is there in front of you, offering pumping hot teas with some deep fried Assamese munchy snack popularly called puff. Simultaneously, the waiter keeps asking the passengers whether you would like to have meals in the afternoon. Now, attracted by the aroma of the tea just served, you are about to place an order for the lunch. You need to be extra careful if you are a die-hard vegetarian. Meals in Assam, generally known as DBS formula, that is dal, bath and sabji, has also a plate full of non-vegetarian dishes. Therefore, for the cook on the boat, fish is also a vegetable, maybe because it is born in the water, lives in the water before dying at the hands of the fishermen fishing for it by standing in the water. Soon, the waiter, with a handful of empty teacups and a rough idea of lunches to be prepared, gleefully disappears into the kitchen, and the passengers are back to their sleepy ways of pastime. As the boat reaches Janai Ghat by around 11 am, the buzz of the village milkmen trying to load their milk cans into the boat and empty it into the rusty iron tanks kept there again wakes up the dozing passengers. There you are given the first-hand experience of milk getting polluted when they clean their emptied cans with the river water and then pour the white liquid back into the boat's milk tanks as if to make up for the lost milk in transit. With the boat continuing its journey forward, the passengers doze off again, only to be jolted by the cackles of hens and cocks crying out in pain as its necks get separated from bodies by the cook out to prepare lunch for his customers on board. But that sound is music to the dozing passengers, especially if one happens to be a non-vegetarian. They soon come out of the slumber and start looking forward to getting steaming hot meals with chicken or fish curry to top it off. If out of ignorance you, being a vegetarian, have ordered for meal, don't be surprised to see the waiter casually serving dal with the same spoon used for serving chicken and fish curry. I used to watch with amazement the expressionless face of the waiter as he carries on with his service. As the non-vegetarian passengers keep feasting on the dead bodies of the ill-fated chicken and fishes, I used to turn to the other side, silently praying for the peace of all souls made to depart forcefully from the world only to provide a few moments of joy to the diners. The crew of the boat were some of the most contented people that I have come across in Assam. During my entire tenure, I have not seen any of them quitting their jobs, even when the state and the central government servants were flush with funds from salary hike thanks to a booty distributed as fifth pay commission. One of the crew on the boat, Sri Pegu, has been our courier to deliver mails to institution and schools. His remuneration was yearly tips on the eve of Assamese cultural festival, the famous Bogali and Rangali Bihu festivals falling in the months of January and April. Finally, by the time the boat reaches Oriyan Ghat, the other side of the river, the sun would be preparing for the much needed break from the hectic work of the day. As the passengers get down from the boat and rush to catch the bus, their next mode of transport, I often stood there, transfixed, to watch the breathtaking sunset on the Brahmaputra river. Though the entire distance of the journey of just 17 to 18 kilometers might have consumed not less than 7 hours, it leaves no regret, but only a strange and lasting feeling of having lived that much time of my life without any hassles or anything to care about.